in order for this to go on, it has to involve international criminal syndicates that are very, very well organized in terms of those who seduce young women, those who transport them, and those who receive them. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about that international scenario, how that works.
About our estimates from our affiliates around the world is that about 75% of the trafficking is actually domestic, that it's actually for the consumption within the country, and that's people trafficking themselves. That when we started, our organization's over 20 years old, when we started this work, we really thought it was an international issue. And yes, you do have crime families, you do have investigations that, cross borders. And yes, organized crime, even if it's just within a country, is involved. And they're very powerful organizations because there's so much money to be made off of people's bodies. And it's one of those things where in America, because there's crackdown on drug dealing and drug peddling and more border enforcement concerning drugs, a lot of drug dealers are switching to prostitution because, first of all, once you sell the drug, you have to get more supply, as opposed to you can sell a girl or a boy over and over and over and over again. And so there's that difference there. And then it's also the fact that with drugs, there's clear evidence of the crime. With trafficking, it's a much more difficult case because you need the testimony of the victim. And very often these victims are scared. One of my friends, she's from the Netherlands, and Dutch, white, blonde. Her older sister was kidnapped and forced into the very famous Amsterdam red light district. And the whole thing is that organized crime is involved with trafficking girls from Eastern Europe into Western Europe. And you may think in countries where there's legal prostitution that these are girls who are willingly there, but organized crime syndicates will mix in girls by force. And you don't know, as a consumer, who's there willingly and who isn't. And then compounded by the factor, my friend, the trafficker who was, her boyfriend for a while, grooming her and trying to woo her away, who knew her family, who knew the town where she was from, when he finally kidnapped her during a weekend getaway, he told her, if you leave, I'm going to go after your younger sister. Before you have time to get to a phone, he was in an organized crime syndicate, my brothers will be able to pick your sister up and she'll be here instead of you. And so it's fear, it's shame, fear of embarrassment, of shaming the family that keeps these mostly girls prisoners of their own mind. And so they stay there because they are afraid of the organized crime syndicate, which can take them across a border, put them in a country where they don't speak the local language. So even if they do run away, they can't communicate with anyone. They don't have any money. They can't dial a phone, and their family comes from a village where there's no electricity. And so these criminal organizations are very well developed, and they know how to exploit, particularly poverty, but just family connections.
Right.
I've read that there are 27 million people being trafficked in the world today. I've read these figures. It's a $32 billion industry. I mean, think about this. Now, nobody on Falkland Road in Mumbai has $32 billion under their bed. That money is going somewhere. I don't know. As I once said before, this would be a great thing for some investigative reporter to find out what happens to that $32 billion every year.
Right.